You know, as a cloud architect, you spend all your time designing for performance, for scale, for resilience. But let's be honest, sometimes the biggest fire you have to put out is the cost. I want to walk you through a real story, something that actually happened, about a cloud bill that went completely off the rails and exactly how we got it back under control. It all started on a Monday morning that went, well, pretty sideways.
So it starts like any other Monday, right? You grab your coffee, you open up the Azure billing report, and then you just stare at the screen. You're thinking, no way, this has to be a mistake. The bar for actual cost isn't just a little higher than expected, it is a skyscraper standing next to a bungalow. Your storage costs have almost tripled overnight. And just like that, your entire week's priorities have changed. The only question that matters is, where is all this money going?
Okay, so rule number 1. You can't fix what you can't find. So we immediately kicked off an investigation. And this wasn't about making wild guesses. No, this was a methodical hunt. We used Azure's own tools to follow the money, starting from that huge top-line number and drilling all the way down to the specific resources that were quietly bleeding our budget dry.
And the process itself? Super simple, but really powerful. First, we jumped straight into the Azure cost analysis reports to get that big picture view. From there, it was pretty easy to see which resource groups were spiking. And then finally, inside those groups, we drilled down one more level to pinpoint the exact services that were causing all the damage. It's kind of like peeling an onion, right? You just go layer by layer until you find the problem at the core.
And after peeling back all those layers, we found them, our culprits. And it wasn't just one thing. Oh no, it was more like a conspiracy of 3. Blob storage was the absolute ringleader, responsible for a whopping 50% of the overspend. And trailing right behind it were a ton of accumulated disk snapshots and a single, surprisingly expensive Azure file share. So now that we had our suspects, it was time to move in.
All right, so this is the takedown phase. With our culprits lined up, we could finally stop panicking and start applying specific, targeted fixes for each one. This is really where good architecture meets good accounting, and where putting a few smart policies in place can literally save you a fortune. So the biggest offender, the main bad guy, was blob storage. We dug in and found terabytes of old application logs and other data just sitting there, almost never being accessed. But see, by default, all that data was living in a hot storage tier, which is optimized for frequent access and, you guessed it, is expensive. We were paying premium prices for data we hadn't touched in months. It was crazy.
Our weapon of choice here? The Azure Lifecycle Policy. And what's so great about this tool is just how simple it is. You literally just set up some rules. For example, you can say, hey, if a blob hasn't been modified in 30 days, go ahead and move it to cool storage. And if it hasn't been touched in 90 days, move it all the way to archive storage. It is the definition of a set it and forget it solution.
Now, the crucial thing here is to understand the trade-off. By moving all those old logs to the archive tier, we cut their storage cost by over 95%. I mean, that's huge. So what's the catch? Well, if we ever actually need that data back, it's not instant. Retrieval can take several hours. But for old diagnostic logs, yeah, that's a trade-off we will happily make all day long. Next up on our hit list, disk snapshots. Now, don't get me wrong, snapshots are fantastic for backup and recovery. The problem is, they are so often created for a temporary purpose, right before a big software deployment, and then they're just forgotten. They're orphaned. And over months, these forgotten snapshots pile up, each one quietly adding to your monthly bill. So the fix here wasn't some fancy new technology. It was a process, good old-fashioned housekeeping. We set up a recurring task on the calendar to review all the snapshots. We started tagging everything properly, with creation dates, who owned it, and a delete by date. Anything that was old or untagged got flagged, reviewed, and deleted. It's just simple operational discipline.
And this highlights a really critical balance we had to strike. We got really aggressive about deleting the unnecessary snapshots, the junk, but we never ever compromised our critical recovery points. And proper tagging was the key. It was the thing that let us confidently know the difference between our essential safety net and the stuff that was safe to delete.
Okay, our final culprit was an Azure file share. It had been provisioned for a massive peak capacity that it rarely, if ever, actually reached. We were paying for this huge amount of storage, while our actual usage was consistently less than 25% of that. It was literally like renting a 10-bedroom mansion for just one person.
And the solution here is one of the most fundamental principles of the cloud. It's called right-sizing. It's not rocket science. We just looked at the actual usage metrics over the last few months and adjusted the provisioned capacity way down to match the real demand, obviously leaving a little bit of headroom. This one change instantly eliminated the cost of paying for all that empty, unused space.
So, after taking down those 3 culprits, the bill came right back down to earth. But the real payoff, the real win, wasn't just the one-time fix. It was the set of universal lessons we learned from the whole ordeal, which we've now built into an actionable playbook that any architect can use.
From that whole crazy fire drill, I've distilled everything down into 7 golden rules. This is the playbook I live by now. It's what I use to keep Azure storage costs in check on any project, and it's how we make sure we never, ever have another Monday morning bill shock.
All right, here they are. Number 1, always automate data tiering with lifecycle policies. It's a lifesaver. 2, make snapshot cleanup a regular recurring process. Put it on the calendar. 3, constantly right-size your shares and disks. It is not a one-and-done task. Then, let's add 4 more essentials. 4, choose the right redundancy option. Don't pay for geo-redundancy if you don't need it. 5, use reservations for your predictable workloads to get a nice discount. 6, tag everything. Seriously, everything. That way you always know who owns the cost. And finally, number 7, set up budget alerts so you get a warning before the bill explodes.
Ultimately, you have to remember this. Your cloud bill isn't just an invoice. It's a direct reflection of your architectural decisions. It's basically a report card. So the question I'll leave you with is, what grade is your architecture getting right now, and what investigation are you going to start tomorrow?